What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Played Out Podcast, a competitive-focused Age of Sigmar podcast. My name is Kyle, aka Creator Gator, and I'm here with my lovely co-host, as always, James. James, how are you doing?
Good. I've had a lot of adjectives in my life. I don't think one lovely has ever come up.
Always lovely. I call you lovely every time we play, which is
you call me a lot of other things too, but I appreciate that one.
Oh, well, today we are going to be talking about the LVO results. We're going to be talking specifically about the top 4 lists, digging into it a little bit, talking about how those lists tick. So we've each taken 2 lists and kind of deep dove into the specific components of the list, and we're just going to break that down. Last week we went over a little bit. Our goal is to try to stay around an hour. We went an hour and 20 minutes because we were rambling.
Yeah,
a lot of fun stuff, a lot of fun things to say, but this time we're going to try to keep it a little more concise. So, James, if you wouldn't mind, can you tell us a little bit about the list that took first?
We want to start at first. What if we start in like worst and then work up to first?
Worse?
Yeah, you know what I mean? Because I feel like it's less interesting. You know, we give
of course. Yeah,
see, that's the marketing, right? Is you give them the appetizers and then you give them the meat. You know what I'm saying? In a not sus way. Not.
I'll be your lobster rolls. I'll be the things that build up.
Perfect. So let's start with you're number 4.
I am number 4. It is a Caradron Overlord list, and let me get to that.
I don't mean to pop quiz you.
No, you're good. It's a Caradron Overlord list. It was a 2-drop. It came in at 1,990 points. Trying to think of the name. I'm trying to find the name of the guy. I will put the name of the guy on here. I don't see it on the thing. Yeah. I'll find it. I'll put the name of the guy on here. But Caradron Overlords, it was Skyport, Barak, Cornair. I'm going to mispronounce all these KO stuff because I've never...
Bro, the one I'm reading is Chaos, so I have no shot.
It's the blood one.
Blood, death, blood.
Yeah. So, basically, their Skyport is Barak Moranar. It's basically a worse version of the Command Core. Is what it is. So it's enemy within 12 inches of a KO unit. If they use a command on a 5-up, that command is not received.
That is a classic. That's a classic Games Workshop rule right there.
Yep. Objectively just good. You know what I mean?
It's good.
1/3 of the time your enemy will not be able to do the thing that they want to do. Probably better.
Yeah. It's good for you. Especially for like Rally or Unleash Heck.
100%. 100%. Their grand strat was Slaughter Sorcery, which, correct me if I'm incorrect, but I believe it's kill all mages.
Yeah. Very self-explanatory.
Mm-hmm. Not a single mage in the list. I don't think so.
No. Yeah. I don't think so. I think are they more priest heavy? I don't really know. I'm not super on, like, as much as I love the models, because who doesn't love Skyboats? But like, I just don't know a ton about their rules. Like I know what it feels like to get shot, but I don't know I don't know how shot get better.
Yeah. From what I can see, I do not think there were any priests in this. I'll also look up the Orthic Navigator. I'll look that up in once you are talking.
Yes.
Because that does have a Voidstone Orb, which is a 1 per game auto unbind.
For good.
So again, just good. In any army, that's just good.
Yeah, from a man who has all 1 in the chamber for me when I play him.
It's just good. So the KOs get to choose 3 things. They have a footnote, an amendment, and an article. Their footnote was no trading. So once per game, if they get shot, 1 Skyfall Farer unit can shoot back.
Nice.
Pretty good. More shooting. Their amendment was trust your own guns. And once per turn in the shooting phase, they can reroll 1 hit roll of a 1. That just makes their shooting even better. And their article was honor is everything, and that is a rally on a 4-up. So
that's a good one.
That's
very
pretty good.
Strong.
It's really good for later on in the list, because you think like rally, that's kind of weird. Don't they normally float around in giant shooting machines? Why would they need a rally? But we'll get to that. Their general was an Arcanarch Admiral, whose what's it? Was it command trait? It might be a command trait. It
Command
was
traits.
X Grunstock. So the Grunstock are battle line. That just means he can take grunts, the things that he wants to take anyway. Make a battle line. Battle line.
Fills that tax.
Yep. Get rid of the tax. Take more stuff that good. And then the other hero they had was a Authoric Navigator. And it looks like that is just a Void Stone Orb carrier. So the artifact was a Void Stone Orb. Like we said, automatically get rid of one spell. And then, yep, they did not have any mages. So they had an Aether...
Hand-carved Nullstone icon.
Huh?
Hand-carved Nullstone icon, yeah.
Yep, and that was on their third leader. So, again, just continuing to deny spells. They have no spells, so they're just going to bank on hopefully ignoring them. And that takes us to our battle line. So they had 2 reinforced units of Grunstock Thunderers for 320 points apiece. Now, these are normally a 5-man unit, and they're a 5-man unit of like infantry that ride around in the boats. So now it's a 10-man unit. Notably, they have lots of guns, and they can shoot from the boats. So it's basically just adding a
more gun on boat.
More gun to boat. It's the best way to upgrade the gun on the boat. You can also dump them off and help count as objectives. The boats, like he has, speaking of, they have 2 frigates. They
Little
count
boat.
as,
Little boat.
Yeah. They count as 5 on an objective. So not the biggest thing in the world, but I think the majority of your gun is coming from your Grunstock Thunderers. They also had 1 Grunstock Gun Hauler, which is like a boat.
It's a big boat, right?
No. That's a little boat. That's a little boat. That's your battle line boat.
Oh.
Yeah. The frigate is like big, and I think the frigate's big in the other version. I'm trying to think of what it's called. It's like a cruiser or something like that, but it's even bigger. If they suppress an enemy. Oh, yeah, that's the big thing is the Grunstock Thunderers
are just kind of the meat and potatoes.
Yeah, that's like it's not a whole lot of tech. It's more like put everything in boat, move boat forward, dump a bunch of shot into thing.
Sounds like Drakari.
And then like dump them off, and then because he's invested in the 4-up rally, I'm assuming he wants to dump those people off and like have them stand on objectives and do things on objectives. And if they
wants to dump, dude.
Yeah, if they die, roll the 4-ups and get them back, then put them back in the boat, and then yeet them around the board.
Arcanaut Ironclad is the big one.
Arcanaut Ironclad, yeah, Ironclad. Like a dreadnought.
Frigates are like medium ones. Gun haulers are like the little ones.
Yeah, the little ones. So
you know how I can tell? The gun hauler's $60, the frigate's $90, and the Arcanaut is $140.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's about right. I do love this army. If it wasn't for my hatred of dwarves, I would probably own this army already. I love the idea of just like flying around in like these boats. Fun fact: they're the only army that can like embark and disembark. At least that I know of. It's in like their special rules. Obviously, there's the spell that helps you get around the board. But do you see the player's name on the list at all?
I do not currently.
Yeah, I'll find it and I'll post it here because he deserves credit. Because
clearly, it did very well.
Yeah. Also, LVO was the largest Age of Sigmar event ever this year. LVO 2023 with I think 347 people entered. That sounds correct. I'll fact check myself.
It was like 350 plus. I know that was kind of like the closest round number.
So it was definitely one of those things where it's always good to see. So the top list coming out is kind of crazy because like it's a little bit of it's one like 99% skill, right? But there's also a little bit of luck. Didn't run into just a crazy like good player or bad matchup
or Trug
or Trug
who just turns off shooting.
There you go. Yeah, exactly. I don't know what this list does against Trug because he just shuts it off.
Kyle.
You don't shoot me. You shoot me real bad. So yeah. So that was the 4th place list. What do you want to go into
third place list? The 3rd place list, which was the classic representing chaos in the top 4. It was the Allegiance of Khorne, the Blood for the Blood God. The slaughter host was Reapers of Vengeance. The grand strategy was, again, slaughter of sorcery, kill all the wizards.
Makes sense.
Something they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
The slaughter host, Reapers of Vengeance, is the slaughter host that basically buffs all demon units. So like this list is very like demon heavy, and less like humanoid, because that's something I know at least within Khorne is massive. I don't play Chaos, but like I am a Chaos appreciator. There's like there's like humanoids and demons essentially, and like you can get like there's different hosts that buff either one, or just a different host that buffs them in a different way. But this one is I don't know if it gives +1 on rend, but it basically just gives a army-wide buff to demons at all times. Leaders was a lot of 3 bloodthirsters. Nice. Okay. He had the bloodthirster with Unfettered Fury, the blood Scarbrand, who's just literally a damage machine.
Yep.
And there's only 2 bloodthirsters. Sorry. And then there's 2 bloodmasters, which just buff. They're again other buff priests for the his battle line, to bring up his battle line a little bit. His battle line was 20 bloodletters, 10 bloodletters, or 10 blood reavers, and 8 claws of Karnak, which is, again, the blood reavers and the Karnak are more just kind of like cheap screen units. The bloodletters are, that's kind of like you're buffing them up to be another damage piece in addition to the bloodthirsters. It's really hard to talk about Khorne because they all have blood. Like like his list is bloodthirsters, bloodmasters, Scarbrand, who's a bloodthirster, a couple named characters, and then bloodletters, blood reavers.
Nice.
In addition, he has 3 Magorfiends. I'm assuming is another cheap either tech piece or screen, and then the Godsworn Hunt as allies. He also has an ally. What's it called? An ally caster is Thedra Skull Scryer, who is a Slaves to Darkness. What?
Just blood and skulls. Just
blood and skulls. Blood and skulls. But this one's actually this one's an ally. So she's a wizard, a 2-cast wizard that essentially once she hits a 10+, she goes from being able to cast 1 spell to casting 2 spells for the rest of the game and unbinding 2.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's really good, especially with Primal Dice, because like you could just buff that on turn 1.
Yeah, 100%.
So it's really good.
I haven't looked at the FAQs for that, but does that count?
I think so. I would assume so. I was kind of going off the War Scroll.
Yeah.
The endless spells they brought were the Hexscourger Skulls, which are terrifying if you've ever played against Khorne and you have wizards. God help you if you roll an 8, because they will explode, and the rest of them will explode.
Is it like Gobsprack, where it's like the higher you roll, the more damage you do to yourself?
No, it's just you roll, and if it's an unmodified 8, your head pops, you take like D3 damage or something. Like the skulls explode. Yeah, you explode, and basically what happens is you take a certain amount of damage, and then if there's like a wizard within like 12 inches of you or something, they explode, and it's like a chain reaction. So it's like it'll go through your whole army. And like if you're a Lumineth player and you run into that, like you're actually screwed.
That's awesome. I love that.
In addition, with the wizard that initially like popped the Hex Skulls, like forgets the spell. So if it was like a key tech, like a key or not, I don't want to keep saying
Handagork.
Tech piece, like Handagork or like the Fangs of the Bad Moon. That's happened to me before. It's like the point and click, mortal wounds. He forgot it turn 2, and I was just like, well, that was your output. So you're just you are now just the moon on the stick.
Yeah.
For Scragrod, I'm obviously referring to as I'm a Gitz player mainly. But yeah, that's essentially the list is very it's all internal buffs based, and it's all based around kind of those big power pieces that are demons. Giving them fight first, giving them like either increased damage, increased rend. So there's like each like priest and or like their sub faction kind of leans more heavily into that, and I think this is just more of a stat stacking army, like a buff stat stacking army. And obviously Khorne just wants to run through you, know what I mean? Like If they don't, they're gonna die because Bloodthirsters are like these massive power pieces on the board. They don't hit as good as you think they should, if I'm being completely honest.
That's what I've heard about Khorne is like you feel like they should just be running at you, charging at you no matter what, but like they play a lot more conservatively.
Yeah,
like,
and they have
to like pay attention to how you're playing, otherwise you're gonna lose all your pieces by
and a lot of times there's order of operations. You know what I mean? Like if you go with this person first, and this person doesn't get to like activate afterwards. And it's important. Like you can't just like unga bunga, you know what I mean? Like you can with Iron Jaws.
Yeah,
like I honestly
much more thinky than it should be.
Yeah, like Iron Jaw. Like I'm getting completely honest. I think like Khorne should play a little bit more like Iron Jaws. You know?
Yeah, 100%. And that's kind of Haywo in his like 30-minute faction guide. He was like, if you want, when he was talking about Khorne, he was like, if you want Unga Bunga, go play Iron Jaws because you're gonna have to think a lot more than you think you will when you play Khorne.
Because there's like layered buffs and like there's different. It is cool, and if you like aggressive play, it's great army for you. But like, you do have to think. All right, I think that's all I have to say about the third place list. So Kyle, if you want to take us into our top two.
Yeah, and I will be able to talk more about this because I have the Cities of Sigmar book, and this
Order
as
Man.
I was at what
the Order Man.
The Order Man. I have this like Cities was the army that I wanted to start with, close behind Seraphon. I think they like depending on when you asked me, it was like flopping back and forth. But I didn't want to buy Cities because at the time it was all the old world models. And that's, again, did not want to pay Games Workshop prices for ancient minis. Plus, you're never going to be able to get your hands on them. You know what I mean? Like they were never in the store. You always had to order them from Games Workshop. I never liked that.
Sorry, one more thing about the other list. It was 11 drops. So this guy did not care about going first.
Oh hell yeah! I love that. Yeah. This list is a 2-drop, and I think a lot of lists are 2 drops, 1 or 2 drops, and that's
my tourney list is, you know.
Yep. When you get to decide who goes first, that's extremely powerful, and guess what? That really helps you, especially if you can see it after after you set up.
Yeah.
The Arcanaut Navigator, to go back just a little bit, the Arcanaut Navigator is not a wizard, but can dispel as if he was a wizard.
Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen that. Yeah.
So magic defense, not magic offense, which is pretty cool to see in the land of the blizzard. So this list it has my steam tanks.
I love it.
I saw it and everyone was like, "Oh my gosh!" Because everyone has said steam tanks garbage. Like that's been the thing since the book came out. It's like steam tanks are cool, but you can't really do anything with them, right? That's the thing. Turns out if you have the amount of buffs that you put on them on these steam tanks, they don't go away, and then you just have them. So let me hop right into that. So the city that was chosen was Hallowheart. Now, that's kind of interesting because that Hallowheart is basically, it's called Harness Wild Magic. And what it does is it lets you roll 3d6 when you're casting your spells. But if you roll over a 10, I believe, if you roll over a 10, you suffer D3 mortal wounds.
Kind of spicy.
It's kind of spicy, but your casters here are a little bit thick, which is fine. Also, you have tons of heals in this list, so you're sitting pretty with that. The general was a Steam King commander, which means your steam tanks are battle line. It had a macroscope, which means a 12-inch aura of +3 to range to all human units, and I want you to remember that 12-inch aura thing because that's pretty big in this list.
Oh yeah.
They also had the Divine Champion as the Divine Champion is a command trait. Command trait's a Divine Champion. And the artifact was the macroscope. So this makes the user a priest. So it also has a spell built into it where it's a 12-inch aura, again, of +1 to wound and melee. Not bad, not shabby. I think that goes off on a 4. Pretty okay. But also it lets you, unlike the Arcane Tome, it lets you take another prayer. So, of course, you took heal. Because on a 3-up, you heal D3. So
the heroic action that's hard to do.
Exactly. Well, like no, you can like make something else heal.
Yes,
so like all of those steam tanks that are around you, making sure they're all capped off, right? Which is important because the grand strat is reclaim for Sigmar, which is you have to have a Sigmar unit in all 4 quarters of the battlefield at the end of the game. So the goal is to have these things live, because he only has 4 steam tanks as battle line, right? And he has 1, 2, 3, 4 4 heroes, and then the 2 command
squads.
2 command corps at the end. So he's going to have one of those in all 4 quarters at the end of the game. So that is basically your steam tank is shooting at steam tank strength plus a little bit more, because you're a commander. You're in the middle of the tanks, giving them a massive buff of heals. And then you have your battle mage on Hurricanum. Their spell is Levitate. So it has a range of 18, and you can pick one unit and then it can fly. Great for giving your steam tanks the ability to jump over screens or like jump over speed bumps that might be in their way. It has an ability called Storm of Shemtek, which is an 18-inch. On a 2-up, you deal D3 mortal wounds to something, which is just constant damage if they get close to your line. They have a 9. Here's the big thing: a 9-inch aura of +1 to hit.
It's great. It's just good.
+1 to hit, shooting, melee.
It's like a more expensive Lord Ordinator, right?
Well, it's more expensive Lord Ordinator, but you get way more out of it.
Stuff. Yeah, you get more value.
Yeah. It's all because it's also a mage. It's a 1-cast mage.
They have a Lord Ordinator just like on board.
Yeah. Just telling the tanks how to shoot. Yeah. But like the Lord Ordinator is only for Order War Machines. So like, yes, it would work for tanks. This one is just,
but it's weirdly specific. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. This is also in melee and shooting.
That is
and
better.
Then it notes Chain Lightning. So it can, again, do more D3 mortal wounds to anything that gets close to it. So it provides a lot of the mortal wound backup for the steam tanks and makes the steam tanks shoot harder. And then they have a battle mage, so like a little 100-point foot hero, but it's got the Realmstone Orb, which means it adds 6 inches to its casting value.
And most likely Blizzard.
It doesn't. No.
Oh, wow.
No. Well, you can't augment Blizzard anyway. Blizzard can't be extended. But I was interested. Like, I thought this was interesting. This was one thing that I was like, oh, that's weird. Because, like, there's another one, which is just +1 to cast. So I would always pick that, except their spell for this was Wild Form. So it has a 12-inch range, so maybe they want to extend the range of that, right, to 18 inches. But it gives a unit that it affects. It can declare charge if it's in 18 inches. Also, it can charge 3d6 until the next hero phase. Ooh. So the steam tanks can run and charge if they overload their
tires.
If they put the steam to their tires and not their guns. So they can run and charge. So like that is a massive move range. Yeah, because you can tell the steam, you can order the steam tanks to run, right? So they're +6 inches to their move.
Fly.
Fly. Yeah, exactly. The magical like steam tank locomotive.
Really,
just
like that's so
turn
funny.
1 pinning a unit if you really want to do that. And then the last mage, and this is another mage that kind of makes the whole wagon tick, is an Alchemite Warforger, which is super popular in the cities.
Yeah, very popular.
Cities list. So it gives an aura of 12-inch aura, again 12-inch aura of hits of 6s, add 1 mortal wound for each 6,
which is great.
Which is crazy,
especially the output of steam tanks. You know what I mean? Like with the like little steam guns. Like
yep, you're just because it's like typically you're like shooting 3d6 shots into something. So like that you're gonna get a decent amount
12.
of 6s. Yeah, you're gonna get a decent amount of like 6s out of that. Alternatively, if you do not want to do that, right? Say you're not really focused on damage right now, you want to focus on defense. This is kind of insane. You can instead choose to do +1 to save in a 12-inch aura.
Which they're already saving on 2s. It's ridiculous.
Like everything, ridiculous. So guess what? Your massive line of 4 steam tanks and your steam tank commander now all have +1 to save. Mystic Shield on everyone.
Literally. Well, it's literally like you're like, oh, I have this like massive like I would say some of the most aggressive weapons in the game are Ren 3, right?
Yes.
Ren 3 on a steam tank with that aura gets you to 4s.
Yep.
So half of the shots are like that get through everything are coming in.
And I mean, that's why it's this guy's grand strat. Like these things aren't dying, and I think that was like I watched a couple of the games on Twitch. They broadcast the AOS finals on Twitch on like the Warhammer official, which was really cool to see because normally 40K gets the massive spotlight, and there was a other content creator that was streaming the 40K, which had a massive viewing. But it was cool to see the Warhammer official doing like just Age of Sigmar the entire weekend, which was really cool.
It was really fun to watch.
A big like step forward for Age of Sigmar, I guess, if you want to like Gesundheit, if you wanted to kind of like every year, I think we're going to see the gap between AOS popularity and 40K popularity, like
get closer,
exactly. And I
just think like, the models are so cool. Like
the models are just cool.
I've never been like a fantasy guy, really. Like I like D&D because of like the mechanics of D&D, but I've never been into like the fantasy genre more than I've been into sci-fi. And I'm telling you, the models of AOS just like draw you in. You know,
there's so much you can do with like high fantasy models. You know what I mean? It's a great time.
Imagination's the limit, dude.
Yeah, but basically, it's a massive castle. You have 5 steam tank bodies that are going to block. They're going to have +1 to save. They're going to have +1 to hit, and they're already hitting on 3s. So they're hitting on 3s, or they're hitting on 2s. With the big gun, they're wounding on 2s. Like it's D3 + 2 damage, I think, on the big gun, and you get.
What was your sub faction again?
The sub faction was Hollow Heart.
Okay.
So you roll 3d6 when you're casting. But if you go over 10, you deal D3 mortal wounds to yourself. But that is mostly just to make sure that they get their cast off.
Yeah.
So, interesting, because there are other ones that extend ranges, but I think the macroscope is doing that, where you're adding +3 to the range of all your human weapons. And the steam tanks already shoot at 24.
Yeah, so you're good. You don't really like you're not like 24. You're not really hurting for range anyway, especially when you're in a moving platform. You know,
the important thing is their steam gun is only 12. So now like you're changing that 12 to a 15, which is much more like, oh, I don't want to get close to that. You know what I mean?
It's terrifying.
Yep. So the steam tank can also give 2 steam tanks orders. You know what I mean? So if you get in there, you're taking 2 steam tanks worth of unleash heck.
Yeah.
Yep. That's gonna be rough, and they're also getting +1 to hit because it's not a +1 to hit in the shooting phase. It's just a +1 to hit.
+1 to hit. Yeah, it's just a buff. Like
So it's like you have. It's very like the Gungan battle from episode 1 of Star Wars, where you have like this bubble of things, and you like. You don't want to come close to it, but you're going to have to come close to it at some point in time.
You can't do anything until you come close to it.
Yeah. And when you come close to it, the only thing you get to hit is a 14 wound, 2 up or 1 up save body.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's going to be rough. Also, the other big thing, 2 command core. So like the command core can screen, the command core can heal these tanks if they get chipped. Yeah, exactly. I mean, we all know it. But that is something that I should have said in this because it's the first time we are talking about it. It's been a big discourse online ever since LVO came out because this list has 2 of them in it. Your list, I believe, has 1.
No, 2.
2? Oh God. Okay.
Regular command core. They're definitely buffing. They're definitely nerfing. I mean, we're getting. Again, based on certain sources, we should be getting the data slate update next week for AOS. So I think they're going to get the unique keyword.
Yeah. Or something. Something's going to change. They're going to change their points to be something insane. Because they're currently 170. They do everything pretty good. But I think the steam tank list was leaning on them to, one, you can deny a... is it a 4-up?
It's like, I think it's 4-up. I can look that up. Hold on.
Look that up. But the other one is they can heal. Their surgeon can heal human units. And guess what? Tanks are humans, technically. So... the surgeon went to mechanic school, and now it can heal these steam tanks. So your steam tanks aren't dying. They're sticking around, and they're impossible to kill in melee because you're going to take a bunch of damage on the front end of it.
Crazy. So
yeah.
You want me to read the ability? So
Yes.
Dispatch Spies. You can only use this ability while the unit's Whisper Blade is in the unit once per turn. When an enemy issues a command, you can say that the Whisper Blade will attempt to disrupt it. If you do so, roll a dice on a 4+. And on a 4+, the command is not received, and the command ability still counts as being have used a command point,
Okay.
which is crazy. It's a board wide. It's a better Geminids. You know what I mean? Like Geminids is a 2-up, but I have to summon the spell and walk it over there. You know, this guy just goes,
nope,
I don't think so.
Yeah.
And it's also once. It's not like once. It's once a turn, whenever, you know.
Yes. Yeah.
And if he's got 2, he could do it twice.
Yeah, that's the other thing is it's not unique, and it's not like they don't have any wording in the rule that makes it so they can't be stacked. So you take 2 of them, every turn you're denying potentially, like odds, you're denying at least one. You know what I mean?
Like 1 per phase, or like maybe using 2 in the same phase. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or per turn.
Yeah. So, and like I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, turn. It's my turn. Your turn.
It's turn. Yeah, it's not battle round. So
it's not round.
It's 4 times a round. Yeah.
So if I charge into you and you want to Overwatch me or you want to unleash heck on me, guess what? You don't. Yeah. And that might be why this guy lost to the other person.
Or leadership.
I don't know what you're talking about. I have flags in my army. I don't care about any of that leadership crap.
I have trogs, and trogs are allergic to flags.
Exactly. Yeah. So that might be why these 2 lists, when they bumped up against each other, they were just denying.
There's just no commands. You have no commands, bro. Yeah.
Yeah. And I definitely feel like the Steam Tank being able to order 2 of them, and then he played pretty cagey. Like he didn't just yeet Steam Tanks and things. He made like the person come across the field to him.
Yeah.
And then like did a good job of like move blocking things with his massive like 120 mil oval bases. So good on him. I'm really happy to see it. I'm sad to see it because Steam Tanks probably won't get any more love because I currently have 2 3D printed right now. Since we last,
God, you got to get there quick, dude, because they're about to get nerfed.
No, I'm gonna throw one in my Seraphon army and paint it like a Jurassic Park vehicle, and I'll be happy. I'll get my dopamine
Take that
from
box.
that.
They're also just good. They're also just stats.
They're fine. Yeah, they're fine. They don't count. That was, and even the commenter commented on it. They don't count as 2 on an objective.
That's the biggest problem.
They
don't hold objectives.
Yeah,
they're super tanky. They do a decent amount of damage, but they don't hold objectives. You know.
Yeah. So it was a lot of him like move blocking to make sure they didn't get on an objective and like
or killing things off of objectives.
Or killing things off objectives. Yeah. But great list, great pilot. I'm excited to see more lists like that because I'm in love with Steam Tanks. So it was really cool to research this list because 1, I kind of knew more about like what the units did, and 2, it helped me understand. Like I didn't know the second part of the Alchemite Warforger thing was a thing. I always just thought it was because my brain was going with Fusiliers, right? Like everybody else when the book came out. I was like, put this buff on a 20-man Fusilier unit and then yeet it at somebody. You know what I mean?
Just make them delete.
Just make them delete something. Yeah. So I didn't even think about the +1 to save. That was the furthest thing from my mind. But with tanks, have fun. You know what I mean?
1-ups, bro.
1-ups, come at me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many drops
take us through. What's that?
How many drops?
It was a 2-drop.
Yeah, makes sense. That's mine is also a 2-drop. So
yep.
Number 1, the one that won the list that won LVO, was also a City of Sigmar's army, which means in this data slate update, I guarantee you we're going to see a lot of slaps on that City of Sigmar, man.
True.
So their sub faction was Misthaven, which I actually, after looking at this, I love. Very, very cool sub faction. The ability is at the end of the hero phase. You pick 3 different friendly Misthaven units that are within 12 inches away from all enemies, and they can move up to D6. Roll separately for each. I'm just like, that's awesome. Like, a little like you get like a little more maneuverability in the hero phase with like all your like little units or little foot heroes. It's great for keeping foot heroes with stuff too.
It makes Free Guild Cavalier units a nightmare.
Oh yeah, because they're fast as hell.
Yeah, the what's it called? Cities of Sigmar, specifically Free Guild Cavaliers, have, and with their order system. I don't know if you looked into how their order system works, but you just get so much free stuff when it comes to like things in your enemy turn.
Yeah, charging. I know you can charge.
You can charge in the enemy charge phase.
It's great. It's like you get a lot of like things that wouldn't like things that are like out of turn. You know what I mean? Like yeah. And it's good. It's strong. If piloted well, like this person obviously did, it's very strong. Yeah. So this list is a little different than the Steam Tank list. The grand strat is raise the banners held high, which is the easy one.
Yes. Well,
have a flag.
if you want to rewatch any of the games from this LVO, rewatch the game between these two, because there was actually some crazy like stuff with the grand. It came down to who completed their grand strat. I believe they tied like score wise.
Oh, wow.
And then it went to battle tactics, and then they both had completed the same amount of battle tactics, and then it went to who got the grand strat. And the number one ended up getting more of his grand strat because he was at one point in time able to rally one of his units and get the flag bearer back.
That's crazy.
Yep.
That's so cool.
It was insane. It was like one of those, it's like the peak thing where it's like a competitive person will roll over a non-competitive person in the sense that they'll make it where like they'll probably make some mistakes, but they won't make like point sacrificing mistakes, you know what I mean? Or like the game won't be close enough where like the points, like things, the dice will never matter because you're outmaneuvering the person, you're out damaging the person, you're out pushing them on points, right?
But you're finding utility in moments that normally there wouldn't be.
Exactly. Yeah. And here you have two people where that's not happening. So now dice matter. You know what I mean? I feel like that's a good level of skill expression between two players with Age of Sigmar specifically, because there's a lot of dice stuff, right?
Yeah.
So now
there's a ton of interactions that like, double turns and things like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of like things happen on a 2-up, you know what I mean? Where like in 40K it would just happen. Like in Age of Sigmar, you kind of got to roll for it. So like this rally happening, you know what I mean? And the flag coming back, you know what I mean, is one of those things. So
crazy. So there's a lot, like, to get back to the different, we see the Alchemite Warforger in this list. We see the two Free Guild Command Corps in this list. We see a lot of foot heroes in this list, and I kind of want to dive into that. But the what's it called? Really, again, a power piece that I've been seeing in a lot of cities lists recently is the Pontifex Sinistra, which is the priest in the chair who just like hands out, or like the 5-up word bubble, which is like incredible. Especially, I'm surprised that we didn't see that in the Steam Tank list, but I guess they didn't need it with all the healing,
Yeah.
Or the defensive Alchemite Warforger.
Yeah, I think they probably chose Alchemite Warforger because it was a little cheaper.
Yeah, but I feel like it's like if you do both, right? Like you're getting a 1-up save and a 5-up word, like those things are unkillable,
Yeah, I think they were already unkillable. I think I think it was probably one of those things where he didn't need it. You know what I mean? It like that person is probably just a little too expensive.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I mean, Pontifex Sinistra is 180 points, so it is 70 more points than the Alchemite Warforger, and it doesn't give the utility that the this wizard platform does. I can't remember what it's called. Hurricanum. But in addition, we have the Free Guild Cavalier. Going to be, a focus of the list. There's a lot of decent amount of Cavaliers.
Yep.
There's the Free Guild Marshal on Griffin, who's just a beat stick.
That's
an
awesome.
Absolute beat stick.
I love it.
He gets the Grizzled Veteran, which means he can't be wounded on better than a 4-up. Like it's 4-up or higher. Yeah, just like I don't care about anything. It's 4-up or higher. It's just like more tech armor. You know what I mean? Where they're like, I don't care about negatives.
Yeah. I mean, that's what's the Space Marine stratagem that caused so many issues?
Transhuman
physiology. Yeah. You have permanent transhuman. That's insane. Especially since like, the entire Stormcast army wounds on 3s.
Yeah. And it's one of those things that like I think legitimately the that is the only like, because I do see an issue with City of Sigmar is that like a lot of their stuff isn't like, it's a lot of glass cannons, you know what I mean? Like there's not a lot of survivability or like recursion in City of Sigmar, or like none. Yeah. So it's one of those things that you need to build some kind of staying power into this list, In addition, he has the Sigmarite Warhammer, so more of a beat stick than he is normally on his War Scroll. So he's just like running into stuff and eating stuff. But in addition, there's a few characters in this list that I've kind of heard of, but I've never seen before.
Okay.
The first one is Haskell Hexbane, who is kind of plays into like the Hexbane Hunters. It is from Hexbane. It's from Hexbane Hunters, but it's like the character, and essentially what happens is like he declares like a witch hunt at the beginning of the game, where he like points at a unit and he's like, okay, me and my hunters get +1 to hit this thing all game. And it's like, and he also gets, there's a secondary buff he gets if it's like a demon, or no, never mind, that's a different character. But he basically like dubs something like their favored enemy or like the target of the witch hunt. And then it's like these, what would normally be small chaff units are like doing, -1-2 damage to this like big power piece. So it's like, a lot of output on a not expensive unit.
Yeah, that's really cool to see, especially since that's a Warcry warband. I was like, where does that? I didn't know if it came from Curse City or whatever.
Yeah, but it was one of the
Warcry warband. Yeah, they're $35 on Amazon, so not terrible.
Pretty good. $35. $35. 140 points.
Well,
no, 100.
It's 180 plus 180.
It's 320 right? Points. That's just value. You heard it here first, folks. Mm-hmm. I'm buying 8 boxes of these guys.
not to skip ahead, but what does the Hexbane Hunters do?
It's more of that, where it's like he essentially dubs the unit, and then he himself is like, he's not really a huge beat stick, but he has like a ranged attack and a melee attack that are like okay, but much better against his target. And his hunters echo that, where it's the same thing, but it's just more attacks, and it's like what normally would be like -1 damage, I think is now -2 damage, and it's on this 140 point unit that has a ton of attacks.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's great.
One of the things I love about Age of Sigmar is that like when this book came out, everybody was like, the Hexbane Hunters and like Haskell Hexbane, they suck. They're terrible. Never take them. They're the worst thing ever. Like that was like basically the entire community, like Reddit, you know what I mean? Just like echoing all of this, like, oh, it's bad. It feels like it's bad. Don't take it. It won the biggest Age of Sigmar tournament in the world. I mean, probably not it won it, but it was in the
was a piece of it. It was definitely a piece of a power piece.
Someone knows something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's let me look at the thing. Add 1 to the damage inflicted by attacks made by this unit against the target picked by Haskell Hexbane. So
that's
like
pretty good.
Yeah, you're adding
+1 damage is insane.
It's insane. This unit also has a ward of 5 up, just to innate ward of 5 up.
Love it.
The unit size is 5. There's obviously like a bunch of different like characters in there.
Dogs.
Yeah,
too,
dogs. Yeah, but they're all 2 wounds.
Nice.
And in addition, at the end of the combat phase, so they both have this ability. So this is the thing I was talking about, but I forgot what rule went on what special character. So it's called Flamewood Stakes, which is literally like they're like, like when you're like chasing down Frankenstein and like whatever it's called. So like they have pitchforks and flaming stakes.
All right.
And at the end of the combat phase, you can pick one enemy unit within 1 inch of this unit. So if you're already like engaged with them and did combat of this unit, and roll a dice, add 1 to the roll if it's a death unit, a demon unit, or a wizard keyword. And on a 3+, they take D3 mortal wounds from both the hunters and the hero.
So it's 2d3 mortal wounds.
2d3 mortal wounds after all the fighting.
Yeah. If it's in that specific thing, that's hilarious.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's anything. It's if it's the target, and if it's the target and it has one of these 3 keywords, you add 1 to the roll.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, and it's on a 3+.
Yeah.
Normally, so it's on a 2+ if it's a wizard, demon, or.
Hey, look, there's a lot of wizards running around.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Big scary wizards too.
I like that.
No, it's cool. So the second like foot hero, I've never heard of these people.
Dorleria Van Denst.
Yes, it's the Van Densks or the Van Densts.
I've never heard of
there's
this.
There's Galen Van Dents, and then there's what was her name? Doralia Van Densk, right? So the Galen is like the hero, and then Doralia, they come in a set, but they're separate units and separate models. And essentially the way these guys work is they both have a ward of 5 up. They're foot heroes, right? So they have like, a 5-inch move, 5 wounds, nothing super crazy, but they're not like, they're kind of expensive. But then you kind of go through the war scroll, and it's like they have a like, 1 damage shooting attack. You're like, They have their normal attacks, but it does 2 damage, which is pretty good. But they have the strike. Like if they're like fighting together, they both have the strike first effect on them. Right?
Okay.
So it's kind of like a 1-2 punch if they run into something. In addition, they get double damage characteristic of attacks made with models against wizards and demons. In addition, you can basically pick to shoot an endless spell with your spell gun, because your gun is like a spell gun. And if you roll 2d6, you roll higher, you dispel the endless spell. So you can shoot off endless spells as well. So it gives awesome. Like in a season of like a lot of endless spells, a lot of like, wizards being taken, and like Khorne being in a high rotation because it's so good at killing wizards. This is a very strong list.
Yeah. I thought I'm looking up their minis right now. They come in a box together, and I thought they were the Cursed City box, but I don't think so. It looks like they came out in 2021. Looks like they're just like a box of 2 witch hunters.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Which is like, again, this is like kind of goes with like Hexbane and theming, and the new guys coming out, Callus and Toll. So it's, I think they're definitely leaning into a like a
witch
vibe.
Hunter aesthetic.
Yeah, like so that you can really make like a witch hunter army, which I would
That's
love.
Really cool. That is really cool.
Yeah, I'm hoping they come out with more. I mean, like maybe Hexbane Hunters is like a like that's like your battle line unit, but I think it'd be really cool to come out with like a witch hunting force.
Yeah, if that was like a regiment of renown or something like that, or an army of renown, where it's like it's all the witch hunters.
Yeah, it'd be really cool
for the memes.
In addition, you have the the bog standard steel helms. Good for holding points, cheap, survivable. You have 2 squads of Free Guild Cavaliers.
Yep,
just good. That's output, just good, baby.
They do damage. That they have a bunch of orders, which helps them. They can fight right after the marshal or the Cavalier Marshal fights.
Yeah, so it's the 1-2 punch, just like Boingratz and the Cave Squig. And then you have you have a squad of the Hexbane Hunters and the Wild Corps Hunters, and then the 2, exactly what we talked about before, the 2 Free Guild Command Corps, which just gives you a ton of utility on the board. So, this definitely seems like a little bit more of a techie list. There goes that word again, techie list. Yeah. But again, obviously, very, very good results. And I definitely need to go back and see now understanding their rules a little more. I kind of want to see how they pick their targets and how they use the different interactions in the game. Whereas before I would just kind of see like, things move around, and it'd be like, you can't really tell from the camera, because they're little like foot heroes.
Yeah.
But knowing this now, I kind of want to go back and like rewatch the game and like really kind of dive in and see how effective they were in certain interactions.
Yeah. That is one thing about like streaming Warhammer. Like it's, unless you know exactly what every unit does that's on the board, it is really hard to know what is going on. You know what I mean? Or like when it's a pivotal moment. I think if you understand, you can kind of like it. I think it's always fun to watch, especially like if you have it on in the background and you're doing stuff, you can kind of like pick up and put down what's going on.
Yeah.
But it's hard to like follow word for word.
Yeah. In addition, like a lot of times the casters don't dive into every interaction that's going on. You just see people pushing models around the board. So it's like,
True.
Yeah. So that's the end of the list. It's a 2-drop. Comes in at 1960. So in many cases, we'll be getting that Triumph.
Yep. Inspired, I assume.
Yeah, inspired.
Yeah. That 1 big unit plus 1 to wound.
Yep.
Crazy.
It's great.
Yep. You just get it. Nice. I like that. Just because I want to talk about it, because I'm really happy that it happened, but it's very telling about the faction. A Stormcast Eternals unit did end up taking 7th out of everyone, which is pretty insane. Like, pretty awesome for that. And it's actually very similar to something that I run. So like they take, what do they take? They take a Antorian Acolytes and a Warlord Battalion and a Redemption Brotherhood. So they are also a bazillion drops. They're not worried about the drop game. They're going first anyway. That lets them take Call for Aid and Thunderbolt Valley. So they're double tapping with the long strikes that's in there, and they're bringing back their Liberator unit they have as their battle line. Sorry, my list just went away. Let me pull it right back up again.
It's all right. I know what all these things are because you've hit me with them before.
I've hit. Yeah, here we go. Yeah,
I'm very familiar with them.
I like the words. So, to no surprise, their Hammers of Sigmar, Scions of the Storm. So, if they're wholly within 12 inches of an objective, they get a 6-up ward. It's just probably the best thing that we can have, especially if we're leaning on that Science of the Storm to land in specific areas and cause problems for units not fighting front to back. Their Grand Strategy, Spellcasting Savant. And this is interesting. Their general is the Knight Incantor, which it has a once per game auto unbind. Just extremely useful. Button. As we've seen in other lists, like a lot of these lists kind of overlap, like denying command points, denying spells. If you can deny your opponent what he wants to do, then you'll probably have a better chance of winning the game. Crazy.
In addition, if you chamber that, like for a very key moment, or you just hold it the whole game so you can't do magical dominance, like it's great.
Yeah. That it literally, you're either denying a very easy battle tactic, or you're denying a hand of Gork, where you're making it so you control the battlefield and they don't if they have
what was it, you man? Why are you hating on hand of Gork like that?
Listen, I'm just saying, if you're doing this thing where you're trying to protect this, like, I think she has 5 wounds, this 5 wound, like 3-up save Knight Incantor, you know what I mean? You don't want anybody getting close.
Like ideally. My Boingos.
Like the Boingos, exactly. The command trait is the Shaman of the Chilled Lands, so it knows all of the seasonal spells, which is good, and it knows Lightning Blast, so if it doesn't have a good target, it's Lightning Blasting, you know what I mean? But having that Blizzard in the chamber is good, always good to go. They have a Knight Vexillor with the Meteoric Standard. That's just going to once per game do mortal wounds. It also has the Arcane Tome, so it is a wizard.
It do Mystic Shield.
It do Mystic Shield. It's a Mystic Shield bot. It's a damage and Mystic Shield bot, which I like the combination of Arcane Tome onto that, because I don't like taking the Knight Vexillor because I feel like you're paying 120 points for a once per game D3 mortal wound bomb in an area, which isn't bad. But giving the Arcane Tome means you're gonna hang around and like do Mystic Shield and just keep things alive.
Also, and does it become an Andorian Lucas with Arcane Tome or no?
Yes.
That's great. So then you have because there's a lot of battle plans that are like, oh, have an Andorian Lucas stand on this thing to get another point, you know?
Yep. And then they have a Knight Relictor with Translocation, where it goes off on a 3-up, you know what I mean? But it's still a 3-up. So it's a 90-point Translocation. Most of the time, ish, you're going to get it, right? Unless you're very unlucky. Then they have 2 more Knight Vexillors with the Meteoric Standard. So you're getting like D3, 2 D3 more button. Mortal wounds. Yep. Enemy just delete button. Battle line, Liberator unit, just to like be a speed bump. And then because they're Hammers of Sigmar, which I think this is kind of, I don't like this, but Dracothian Guard units, like Tempestors and Fulminators, are battle line and Hammers of Sigmar. So they have a reinforced unit of Tempestors, that's 420 points, and a 2-man unit of Fulminators, which are 240 points.
Dragon horses.
Yeah, the Tempestors are great because they drop down. They have a 12-inch shooting attack, which is disgusting because their hits explode, not hits to 6. They're just hits explode. So you drop that 4-man like dog dragon unit in, they land, they shoot the shit out of something, and then potentially they can go charge and do something somewhere else, right? Just lots of utility where you can do that, or you can like Lord or Knight Relictor them somewhere else with Translocate. There's a lot of stuff you can do with that.
Yeah.
And then being battle line is great because then you're not spending points on other battle line units. In the other category, they got Vanguard Hunters, which also instead of moving can just teleport. So again, very leaning heavily on the like just bouncing around the board.
Great for battle tactics.
Yep, great for battle tactics. They have Evokers on Celestial Draklings, which I don't know much about those guys. I think they're spellcasters when they have a little bit of hit and fast, and they're kind of chunky because they're on mounts. And then classic Vanguard Raptor of Long Strike Crossbow just provides some range, Daka across the board. And then they have Desert Blaze Comet, which is the Stormcast endless spell. You drop a comet down, it does D3 mortal wounds to everybody, I believe, within 10 inches.
You love
which
that
is
one.
massive. I love it. It lands and it stays there, and then it's a +1 to cast for everybody outside. So
I have
it hits,
never seen these dragon dogs in my entire life.
what, the fulminators or
No, the Dracolines.
The
Little
Dracolines?
dragon dogs.
I see them on the shelf all the time. They're like they're always at my game store. Like, I've never seen anybody buy them, but people don't typically like them. I think they have some merit to them, and they're like a fast kind of hitty unit. But the majority of Stormcast players don't really mess around with them.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and then that comes in at 1990 points. They're bazillion drops. They might get their inspired. +1 to wound on that fulminator or tempester unit. But yeah, it's basically, I want to remove your army off the board before they get to interact with my army, and then ideally you make a movement mistake and I can drop something in your line and get many battle tactics and take objectives away from you. But yeah, they don't really have their hammers, the tempesters, and the 5 rounds of long strikes, and the fulminators. They don't really have a anvil.
Yeah, they just have hammers.
They just have hammers, and their goal is to drop as many Vexillors and Comets on you as quickly as possible, and hope that they don't need an anvil because you're out of hammers.
Yeah,
that's the goal.
You're kind of like taking out their legs, and then like the guys on like dragon mounts are kind of cleaning everything up.
Yep, it's a very, like, I'm glad it got there, because like I think we need more Stormcast at the top. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Just because it's the faction of the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
4th is going to launch with a Stormcast box again, like every other. They're the Space Marines for Age of Sigmar, right? So like, you'd want the poster boy faction to be at least mediocre, right?
Yeah.
And have the potential to be piloted into top 8. And we've seen that. The only thing is you have to play these units where it's like, I do damage. I'm bringing the damage.
I bring damage.
I bring damage. That's all I do. I bring damage. So it is what it is. But yeah, that basically wraps up LVO. We will get there 100% sometime in the future.
It's the dream, dude.
I know. 300 and something people. That's going to be insane.
It's going to be hype. Dude, I'm still excited. We're doing our countdown to Cherokee Open, so.
I know. The next couple podcasts are just going to be lead up to Cherokee, just like us getting our stuff together and like talking about the stuff that we're collecting for it. So
talking about what we need to paint, what we need to
yeah.
Or is that just me? I'm sorry, is that just me?
No, I have 2 models that I need to paint. I have an official Knight Incantor. I've been using a Knight Arcanum because I have 3 of those.
Yeah.
But I have an official Knight Incantor that I need to paint, and I have my boy with longbow that's going in the list. So.
Oh yeah.
But that should wrap it up for LVO. Next episode is going to be talking about the Battle Scroll, because it probably will be out by the time we talk next week, and we'll have lots to talk about. I'm sure there's going to be a bunch of stuff that we'll get to talk about.
I'm terrified
because Trogs are in every list.
As a man who owns a lot of Rocket Trogs, and I see them in every list, I am terrified.
Yeah. What happens to your list if it goes up? They go up 10 points.
Depends on how. 10 points doesn't really hurt me that much. I just lose. I mean, if we're going to be honest, I lose Spider Riders or the Spider Shaman. It's one of the two. You know, okay. There's the first 2 on the chopping block. After that, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. Any bold predictions? So I'll shoot out this is not a bold prediction. Some things happening in Command Core. I bet you they're just going to up there. They're going to be like 200 points, and people will still take them because it's just really strong.
I definitely think that Cavaliers are going to get a point hike, because I see them in every list.
They're good. They're good at 180.
They're also just good, you know? Yeah. I don't think it's going to be crazy, but I think it's just going to be more, you know? Yeah. Like, maybe they like up them to like 200 or like 190. Yeah. I could see that you're still seeing a lot of Grave Lords. I could see like there still be some balance in there. It's not as broken as it was, you know, but maybe some more balance there. Definitely Rock Guts. I just think they're kind of due, you know, for a hit.
I feel like, I feel like all of the new human stuff in cities is good. And I don't expect it to not be good, like even with points hikes, because I feel like GW still wants to sell those models.
Oh, yeah.
And they wanted to sell the Trug box, which had Rock Guts in it, so they want you to be like, and I get Rock Guts.
And I get Rock Guts. I get 6 Rock Guts. That's a reinforced unit.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. If my hope is if Stegodons come, I mean, anything that happens to Stormcast happens to Stormcast. Sure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whatever. If Stegodons come down to 250, my lists get a lot more spicy because now more things fit. The 260 is a little awkward, but 250 fits very nice.
Yeah. You get everything in right in that 2,000 mark.
I know, right? But we'll leave it at that. We're actually going to go play TTS. We're going to help one of our friends learn how to play AOS on TTS. So I'm excited to do that. That's going to be a fun time.
Yes, I'm excited too.
But with that, we'll leave you guys. Thanks again for watching. Thanks for hanging out. We appreciate it. And we'll see you guys next week. Thanks, everyone.
See ya.